Welcome, everyone, to the latest episode of The Testing Room, where three of the video game industry's best video game consultants, who have never actually consulted on a video game, bring you new topics each and every week. As always, I'm Alex, a.k.a. The Gozfather.
I'm Christian, a.k.a. Suitable45.
I'm Preston, a.k.a. Funkadelic Jedi.
Yeah, and Christian, I see some U-Haul boxes behind you.
Mm-hmm.
How's moving going? It's going good?
It's good.
It's going. At the current moment, I can say with 0% certainty that we will at least be still within Wisconsin for a little while. So, we'll see what happens. But for right now, as of today, October 1st, the year of our Lord 2024, that is what it seems like is happening. So,
okay.
Yeah. So boxes.
at least you have enough boxes that there's like no echo, right? So
I was actually worried about that because I didn't know how my audio was going to be. It still might be messed up when Preston goes to hear it. But yeah, I was worried because I was like, oh man, all my stuff isn't like dampening the noise anymore. But yeah, there's
fine.
a lot of boxes. We'll see what happens.
So we got individual audio. I can mess with it all I want.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, let's get into this thing. Preston, let's take a stop over in your corner to see what's going on.
Yeah. We got a comment from Mr. Jake. Let me get the full comment here. Hey, dudes. Just wanted to recast my vote for the next book club to be Symphony of the Night. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Yeah, we'll definitely put that in the lineup. I had one for mine, but I'll see if maybe we can squeeze yours in next. My question is, do you think Konami is done giving us proper Castlevania games? The last couple have been mobile games, with one of those being Puyo Puyo Puzzle Game, and anything else recent have been collections of past games. I would think with the popularity of the Netflix shows, whether you like those or not, would warrant a brand new game. Did Lords of Shadow's failure tank the franchise, or will we ever see a new game? Love you all. Love you too, Jim.
I think, because Christian, you'll have a better opinion on this because you're more into the Castlevania stuff than I am. But like, I will just say this: I think if Konami gave a shit about the success of the show, they would have done something pre-season. Pre-season 5, because like they're 5 seasons into this show. They could have easily done something beforehand, and they have not. So I don't think the show has any bearing to what they're doing.
They made a pachinko machine.
Yeah, I don't think anything has any bearing on Konami anymore. So here's my real thing. Konami right now has new leadership, which is the leadership that authorized the Metal Gear Solid Delta remake that's happening. So Metal Gear Solid 3 remake that's happening right now that looks very good. They clearly know that they have IP and things that people would want to see. What that looks like, I don't know. The problem that you're going to run into is that Konami right now, even this new leadership, knows that they've got... And they are actively developing things. Like they dropped... what was that shmup, Preston?
I'm looking them up now. Was it the Signy?
Yeah. I think it's out and it did not do so hot.
No, it did not.
Yeah. So they were doing active development on things. Mm-hmm. That one did not pan out, so expect them to not be happy about that. But I think what you're going to see from Konami is kind of like a Sony approach of, okay, we know we got a bunch of stuff. Let's just deliver slam dunks that we know are going to get people going. And in the meantime, maybe if any of the active developers that we still have chained up in our basement want to try and do something like a Signy that's low cost, low effort, quotes there, they will let those things fly. So like Signy makes sense because that was probably way less of a development cost, and it's an idea that's like, hey, if it doesn't pan out, whatever, we'll try it. Metal Gear Solid Delta is going to be something that prints money. That game is going to sell bananas, and it's going to make Konami a bunch of money. And they barely had to do anything to it because the game was already made before them.
Yeah, and they didn't even make Signet. It was just published by them.
Right. Now, you will probably see, which means they paid for it, but but the Silent Hill remake is a great example. Konami outsourced that to Bloober Team and is letting them do that. I don't know how that's going to pan out. It seems like it could go anywhere from being okay to not great at all. So, and given Bloober Team's history, I don't know. We'll see. But between Metal Gear Solid 3 and Silent Hill 2, that to me says we're going through our catalog of games that we know people have been asking for years, and we are just going to go for the cash grabs right now. Do I think Symphony of the Night is on that list? No. Not because it's not worthy of it, but because that game has been released on different platforms so many times that there would be no reason for them to go back and try to re-release it in any fashion. Like, I don't even know how you would remake Symphony of the Night today without... You could do it in maybe like the Metroid Dread art style, right? Like that's, I think, the most modern, like...
A little more CG-ish, but still
2D platform.
2D, yeah.
That's probably the most modern 2D platformer that we've seen that would be sort of like the semi-realistic art style like Symphony of the Night. So... yeah, maybe you do something like that and people could get hyped for it. But it's not going to have the same pop-off as like a... Because for people who like pixel stuff, Symphony of the Night already looks perfect. Like, the remasters that have been put out for that game already looks gorgeous. The sprite work is impeccable. There's nothing that you do outside of putting it in a new art style that would change anything. Where, like, Silent Hill 2 and Metal Gear Solid 3 both come from an era of consoles that, like, you look at it and you go, it could be better. Like, we might be able to spruce this up a little bit since it's full 3D art. So,
it does look good. Like, those, like, that remake or whatever. I know the Silent Hill 2's coming out this year, and they got this short message. Like, those look good.
Yep.
But the message apparently was just a fucking catastrophe because how they want to go about it is, like, it was bad. But I'm looking at some of the releases they had of this year. Signy's obviously one of them. They had a Felix Cat game, that Contra, Operation Galuga, that Castlevania Dominius collection, and then, the Silent Hill short message and Silent Hill 2. If you even go past last year, it's like they got a collection, they got a rhythm game, they got Bomberman R2, which I don't think did shit. So
no, and that's my point, right? I don't think you're going to see, like, you're only going to see them re-release things or remake things that have been asked for by fans that they know will get people going, and they're going to do it for as cheap as possible and to get the most return as possible.
But you definitely, to your point, you definitely have to do that at first to get a return, to do whatever you want to do, to move beyond the mobile games and move into new IP.
But they don't want to do that.
But I was going to say, but knowing Konami, like, I don't think they want to do that either. I think they're just going to go the way of, like,
existing IP. Who knows? But
it's why they said that, back originally when everybody thought the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake was coming and everybody got so fucking pumped. This was, I don't know how many years ago it was now, but it was some odd amount of years ago.
Cutscenes and everything, and it was a fucking pachinko
machine. Cutscenes,
machine.
they were, and then it was like, anyway, it's a pachinko machine, and you're like, oh boy.
Yeah, I mean, hey, they put out Ninja Turtles, the Cowabunga collection. I mean, that's what you're seeing, though. You're seeing the good collections because those games are already done. They just got to package them up. Maybe you get lucky with a little bit of extra art and, like, behind-the-scenes stuff. But overall, they're like, what do we already own that we don't have to make, that we can have somebody just put together in a nice little package that we haven't released recently, maybe spruce it up a little bit, just for modern consoles. That Cowabunga collection was awesome, but again, those games are already there and available and made, so of course they're good. They didn't make Shredder's Revenge, I don't think, so there's that.
Yeah. Cool. All right, well...
Really quick, Jake had another comment for us today.
Did he?
Yeah, he sent it directly to Preston in our group chat.
Oh, in the group chat. Yeah. Let me pull that up real quick. I didn't think about that because it was part of the group chat. Out on the YouTubes. Pulling it up right now. Oh, you want to give me this shit? Okay, all right, I remember this now. From Jake, who gave us in a personal message, but Christian wants everybody to hear it. Start off with a GIF of an intervention, and then it says, "I'm listening to your new episode, and Preston, I think you need an intervention on these games where you gamble for characters." I put that I don't see the problem. And people laughed, said it's a problem, and I said it's not a problem if you're awesome at it. So,
No, it's definitely still a problem, even if you're good at it.
it's not a problem because I don't dump money into it like some people. It can be a problem. People have made it a problem with their gambling addiction. I don't have a gambling addiction.
Have you dumped $0 into it?
And I put 20. I think they deserve some of my money for a good job for a free game.
Look, I'm not making a judgment call one way or the other. I'm not making a judgment call. I was just saying Jake did put an opinion out there.
He
That's
did.
what the comment corner is for.
Jake knows where he can reach us if he wants it on the show. But, if you want to put me on blast of our personal messages, it's fine. It's fine.
I'm with Christian. No judgment here. But you did say you put no money into it. I want to keep you honest.
I didn't say I put no money into it.
I don't want that. I don't want to get into a slippery slope. So we're just keeping you honest.
I'm pretty sure even last time I mentioned that I did put a little bit of money into it to get one more big pull, and I didn't get it. But hey, you know what? We'll talk when we get to my weeks. I got pretty happy this week, so we'll get there when we get there.
Okay.
Well, oh boy, I can't wait.
What were you gonna say?
So I was gonna say, if we got out, I was going to go into my week because I think I probably had the shortest one out of anybody.
Yeah, I'll go first though because I'm going to be talking a lot here at the end, and you don't want to hear me for too long. So I've done two things this week. I beat Black Myth Wukong, which was
did you get it working?
No, I beat it on Steam Deck.
Nice.
So it was doable.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. The final two fights were absolutely incredible. Like, the thing they did, the spectacle that they did with this game is fantastic. I love this game. It is going to be very highly rated on my personal top 10 of the year. It's going to be up there, top 3, definitely. We'll see. It's so good that I went ahead and started a New Game Plus playthrough. And New Game Plus playthrough is a different game. So going through the first time took me 60 plus hours. I am almost in chapter 4, and I'm like 4.5 hours into it on New Game Plus. So it's just like, because you're so overpowered and you're going back, like, Christian, you remember watching me fight that dope tiger that would like do this playthrough. I ran up there, I froze him, called my monkeys, and now I have this ability where they all do the same thing that I do. So I did my charge, and all 7 of us jumped up and hit him at one time, and you just see his health go, poof, gone. Yeah. And I'm like, so anyway, moving on.
Now, I know, just this question, why, is there a particular reason that you're going through on New Game Plus? Because I know you got other games to be playing.
Yeah, because I really like this one.
Okay, that's fine.
And yes, because I really like this one, and it deserves.
Do your thing. But.
It deserves me to platinum this game. So, and I'm not far from it. So,
so you're going for all Steam achievements.
Chivos.
Yeah. Because I wasn't far, and there were a couple that I missed that I thought was like that were missable that I didn't know were missable. So I'm going through and doing that, but I don't really anticipate if I had the time to play it going beyond this week. Because like I said, that whenever it's like, oh, the game's like 8 to 10 hours long. That must have been the devs going on New Game Plus, because on New Game Plus, it's like 8 hours long. Sure. First time playthrough, not the same. I started 2 days after Travis, and I caught up with him in like 2 hours, and then passed him on his playthrough just because you're so OP. So, I played a little bit of Like a Dragon as well this week. But beyond those two things, I haven't played many games. What I have started doing is our October Halloween movie watch through that Allie and I do all month of October, and we are on the final movie of all 4 timelines of Halloween.
All 4 timelines. So how many movies is that all together?
Halloween 1, Halloween 2, Halloween 3, 4, 5, Halloween the remake, Halloween Ends, Resurrection, H2O, and then the Rob Zombie one. So like 11 or 12.
It's a lot of Halloween movies.
Yeah, I don't know. Did you guys know? So there are 4 timelines in this story, and 3 out of the 4 of them have Jamie Lee Curtis in this. So essentially, like the one timeline is movie 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 4, and 5, which like jumps the shark. By movie 5, it's like Laurie's niece or Laurie's kid who gets abducted by a cult and is forced to have a baby, and the baby is pure evil. Like it totally jumps the shark. Then there's another timeline that is number 1 and then continues with Jamie Lee Curtis as if she never had like that child and has a different child. It jumps all the way to Halloween, like Resurrection, and like Halloween Ends and so on. It's like 4 movies in itself. Halloween 3 is a complete standalone and one of the worst movies, hard stop, I have ever seen in my life. Terrible. Then there is one that we're on now, which is the Rob Zombie. I think there's one other in there too. Oh yeah, there's one other in there. That's 1, 2, Halloween, H2O, and something else. So I guess if you got the Rob Zombie, there's like
a
5.
Sci-fi one. Do they have a sci-fi one? Because I know Jason has a sci-fi one.
Jason is a sci-fi one. They do not have a sci-fi one.
He had his own. Okay.
Yeah, they do not. Halloween H2O is bonkers. They kill Jamie Lee Curtis in the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Jesus, okay.
And then it has nothing to do, like, that is the end of her storyline in that timeline.
That's just to get it over with, like, okay, you know her, we're going to get rid of her, let's go on.
She didn't want to do a whole movie, so will you please come back and finish your story? Yes.
A little check so you can show up, show face.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That one had Busta Rhymes in it. And
yes,
had
I do remember this. Yeah,
yeah. Had Tyra Banks in it. Like
early aughts.
It was
kind of
It was bad. So last night we watched the first part of the Rob Zombie film, and we're doing the second one tonight. And I will say this: Halloween, like the Rob Zombie movies are prettier because they're newer, right? They came out in 2008
and he's
or whatever.
Good like visual director for sure.
Yeah, they're shit movies, and I don't. It's not that I blame him necessarily, but when you take this movie out of the 70s and put it in a time of cell phones, the whole premise falls apart. Like there's one part in that movie where this girl, they're in the neighborhood where Michael's old house is, and they're in a cul-de-sac, and like people are home. And she's out back and screaming, and the doctor comes in and fires a gun. Like, nobody comes out of their house. At one point, she runs outside, and there's a cop car down the street. At another house, there was a murder, and, like, that cop didn't call for backup. She doesn't run towards that cop. She runs the other way. She has a cell phone with her in the movie. Like, when you take it out of the 70s and bring it to today, the whole thing just falls apart.
Can I argue and say that those movies have never made sense?
Yeah, I mean, they're slasher flicks. They're not supposed to.
They're not great. None of them are good. I get it.
But I mean, like, the whole premise never works. Like, so Michael Myers, correct me if I'm wrong, because you clearly are the Warhammer lore expert.
He's the lore
now,
expert.
yeah, I am now. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Mike Myers, there's nothing special about him, right? Like, he's not like a Jason or a Freddy. He's just like a regular dude.
No.
It depends on the timeline you're talking about.
Okay.
Because
in one, before you start answering.
In one timeline, he is like, he's not just like a person, he is like wrath. And he is physically like unkillable. Like shot in the head. But in the newer, we'll jump to like not even the Rob Zombie was, but just like the newer timeline, the one... he can be hurt and he can be quote unquote killed, but like they're super loosey goosey, man. Like somebody hit him with an axe in the shoulder and he's just like, and keeps going. You're like, dude, no, that's a bad day.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, so there's that, but then also, and this is the other thing, is that he's the one who just walks everywhere.
Which is another, yes. Which
so
is
even
funny.
in the 70s, they had cars, you know what I'm saying? Like, and he would instant transmission Goku teleport in front of people or around, like if people were running, driving, whatever. So to me, my thing is, it's like these premises never made sense. Like I always saw these movies and I was just like you start driving and then he's like poof in front of the car and you're like, yeah, that's not how that works. Like you don't get to do that.
But yeah, but like as a horror film, you kind of let that stuff happen. But it's other stuff. Like in the original films, Michael, kills his older sister and then kills his family. And so, like, when he gets out of the asylum, his goal is to, like, finish off killing the family, right? Like, that's why he's going after Laurie. he kills her. In the new movies, they give this weird... Rob Zombie gives this weird backstory to where, like, his dad's already gone, and his mom is it's fucking Rob Zombie, so bear with me. His mom's a stripper. She's married to this, like, disabled hillbilly who's on drugs and, like, kind of flirts with the daughter. It's real weird, whatever. But, like, the stepdad gets mad and leaves. He kills the sister, the older sister. But then the mom, in her trauma, commits suicide. So... then, like, the whole premise of I have to kill the rest of my family thing, it's just the premise itself falls apart because you didn't kill your whole family the first time, right? There's, like, no reason for you to then go on this murder rampage. And in the originals, he doesn't kill anybody else until he gets to Laurie, and then he just kills people in his way. But in the Rob Zombie movies, he kills, like, everyone in this institution and then gets out. So it's just, like, even the motivation... the little motivation that Michael had in the original movies, like, when you give him backstory, you do this other stuff, the whole thing just, it doesn't translate well. Like, being a product of the 70s, you let a lot of things go. But now it just doesn't work the same, right?
Yeah. I've never been a fan of any of the big three, their things. But I'm not, like, horror movies in general are not my cup of tea. Like, it really has to, like, be doing something for me to be into it. Like
Alien.
Yeah, Alien is a great example of one that I think is good, that will do something. I
agree, and I'll tell you why we're watching what we're watching. Because last year, Allie identified the fact that she's never seen, like, Halloween or Jason or Chucky, right? Child's Play and stuff like that. Nightmare on Elm Street she had never seen. So last year we started this watch of, like, all the old movies. And she's like, well, I want to watch a couple of the others just because I started them last year. So we're going through that. But this year, we're getting back to, like, the horror movies that I like Insidious or the new It. Or I brought up Alien. She's not a big Alien fan. We'll see. Things like The Descent. Like, movies that actually are pretty good horror movies, right? Yeah.
Like, I think, like...
we're going back to that.
Yeah, see, even, like, some of those... Yeah, I don't know. I'm so picky about that kind of... Because there's so many things where it's just... It has to be written in a way that I'm like, the premise itself has to be like something that I can, get into. Like, I'm trying to think of one. I remember one movie that stuck with me for a really long time, and I don't even know if the movie itself is any good, but I just remember this particular scene. But like the first Hostel movie, I remember being like, oh, this premise makes sense. Like, you go to a country that doesn't speak the language that you don't know, and it's really easy to get swiped up. People get trafficked in other countries all the time. Easy peasy. I can get along with that. And then, then it goes into all the torture stuff that was just like, blech. But
it's gore porn.
Eli Roth's pretty gross. Yeah, but his second and third movie got way worse because then they were like, cut people, and one woman was like bathing in blood. It was just stupid.
Yeah, that's weird. I didn't see those, but the first one, the premise at least was like, it was something that I was like, that makes sense. Therefore, the rest of this movie is scary because it's something that could happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Have you ever seen The Descent?
No.
That's one of my favorites because it's horror with psychological. So it's a group of 4 girls that go spelunking and like really.
I think I've heard of this one. Yeah,
And they kind of get trapped and stuck, and there are monsters and stuff. But then it's one of those things like, are the monsters real? Are they seeing things? It's very good. It's very good.
Yep. Yeah.
We love Halloween, so like we'll do the horror movies. We'll do like Halloween movies aren't horror movies. The Sleepy Hollows, goofy shit like Halloween Town, because
Gremlins,
why not? Right?
Like
Hocus Pocus, Gremlins, and all that fun stuff. And then Allie doesn't like this much. I like also watching the horror movies that are like, they're so bad they're funny. Like watching that. Like I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie Shrooms, but we used
seems
to
like something I would have watched in college. But yeah,
in college we used to get together every other like couple weeks and like watch bad horror movies. And dude, there's this one part in this movie Shrooms where these kids are out tripping on shrooms and it turns into a gore fest. And this girl's running through the woods. And
I've heard of this. Yes, I've seen it.
She starts hearing voices, and she looks around the tree as she's hiding and sees a cow. And she starts talking to this cow, and she's like, "I don't want to die." And the cow's like, "Oh, you're gonna die." And she's like, "Oh, she's just like, am I fucked?" And she's like, "You're dead fucked." And it's just like, it's so poorly done. but it's so funny.
Is Insidious the one where the goat calls somebody a bitch?
No.
I think
Insidious? I don't think so, because there's like 2 or 3 of them. Insidious is one of those where like there's a being in another realm that like takes kids.
Right. Yeah. So the only reason I'm at is I think it's one of the Insidious movies, but there's like a weird like Ouija board kind of like spiritual seance happening of some kind or something like that, and like a goat like comes alive.
I know
or whatever.
what you're talking about. It's by Raimi. Drag Me to Hell, I think, is what you're thinking of.
Is that what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Justin Long.
Maybe, I don't know.
The girl
I don't know any
vomits.
of the actors.
The girl like vomits blood all over like her workplace, like for like 5 minutes.
Oh,
or something
I don't know about
like
that.
Yeah.
All I remember is so my sister is really into like horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like the way you're describing it. Like she just watches every single one. Doesn't
shit.
matter.
Yeah.
Just loves it for whatever fucking reason. And I remember coming downstairs one day when we were all still living in my parents' house, and there was like I said, it was like some sort of seance scene happening, like some sort of spiritual thing, and then like a goat comes out of nowhere, or like a goat is involved somehow, and like calls somebody a bitch. And I thought it was an Insidious thing, but I remember, but I remember seeing the movie or seeing that on the screen and then being like, I just don't get it. Like this is one of those things in my life that I'm like, clearly it's not for me, not a big deal, but I just don't. And it's totally fair. There's people in this world that don't understand why people like Lord of the Rings so much. I think those people are crazy, but it makes sense. It's just not for them.
Insidious is one of those weird movies too, where if I'm not mistaken, there's like 3 different franchises that have like the same core like actors in it. It's just like it's a guy and a girl. I can't think of their name, but like there was like a period of like 5 years where there were just like every Halloween franchise that came out. There's like one was like Haunting in Maine or something, and then Insidious and something else. But I liked Insidious #1. I thought was good, but I like to be genuinely scared. It takes a lot to scare me. So like slasher movies for me are more funny than anything.
Yeah, they're just weird.
Because and you're looking at a slasher and like they take off their top and you're like, what did I say last night? I said to Allie,
kids doing dumb shits, getting naked and shit. Yeah.
Somebody took off her shirt and I go, boobs a showing, blood's a flowing, and the next thing you know, she gets down. So
One of those like they're having sex in a bar and they get pitchfork stabbed while they're fucking or something like that. Yeah.
Slasher movies don't really do it for me. I just think they're funny. But like legit, like I said, that one Insidious was pretty good.
So Adam would drag me to the movie theaters to see those with his wife. One time he got up to like go to the bathroom and like we got scared as shit. We got real mad at him because he left us. But one of them was it was like a rocking chair, and like they have you stare at it forever. And all of a sudden the old man comes out from the side and is like, "What are you doing?" All that shit. I'm like, "Fuck, dude." That stuff gets me every fucking time. I hate jump scares.
That was how Alexa was when Alex, Allie, and I and her all went to go see the first It.
Allie stared at the side of the wall. She didn't watch half the movie.
Yeah. I remember when we went to go see that movie in theaters together. It was all 4 of us. Alexa leaned forward at the end of the movie, looked over at Alex because it was his idea, and said, I remember goes, "What the fuck is wrong with you? Why did you?" And Alex and I started busting. We started dying laughing. And she was like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? Why would you take us to see this movie?"
There was a couple scenes in that movie that were genuinely scary. That it was the first time in a long time I had felt scared. Like when they're in the barn and they're watching the slideshow on the projector, and it gets closer and closer, and his head comes out. Like that was legitimately like well done. I appreciate movies that are legit, like well written.
There has to be. It's weird for me. Like I can only think of very few times in my life where a movie like actually got me. One was the Hostel movie, but the scene specifically where that dude he'd been getting tortured or whatever, and while he was asleep, he cut his Achilles tendons or whatever, and then he woke up and didn't know about it, and so then he's like sitting there, and the guy goes, "Hey man, I'm gonna be honest with you, there you go, door's open, you can just leave." And the guy's like, "Are you serious?" And he's like, "Yep, I'm done. You just go ahead, get out of here." And so the guy freaks out, right? And it's like, "Oh my God, I can't wait." And he goes to stand up and walk forward, and then his ankle splits and he falls forward. And I was like, oh, like I remember being like that. I was like, I can't even fathom like the fear that you have of that, because then he's like crawling towards the door and the whole thing, right? That one was fucked up. There was a movie that I saw when I was there called The Strangers. You guys ever seen that?
Yeah, where it's just slow stab into the belly.
Yeah, that one was uncool, but I remember specifically the scene that I was like, that is some cold shit to say to somebody that would be like the most terrifying thing ever. I think it's Jessica Biel who's in that movie, right?
And maybe.
Yeah.
I've seen it, but it's been forever.
But she asks, whoever the key people are, she asks at the end of the movie or near the end of it, she goes, why did you do this? And then the person went, because you were home.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, dude, that is the fucking... Dude, imagine... Yeah, I was like, that is some cold shit. Like, that. If somebody said that to me, that's... You getting heebie-jeebies right before you get ended right there. Like, that is...
Yeah.
Bad news bears.
I appreciate the well-written ones. Like, the first Paranormal Activity, when, like, there wasn't anything else really like that. That first one, I used to... Like, I love... The problem is with a movie like that... Once you see it once, it's done. Like, it's lost all of its luster.
So, I was in high school when that movie came out. But I remember specifically, I was not aware of the fact that it was obviously, like, fake,
Sure.
Because when they did the whole thing at the beginning, it was, like, found footage. Like, that's what they were.
And it was like the first of its kind in that genre, right?
And I remember seeing that movie, and I was like, it only took until the first maybe 15 minutes for me to be like, oh, okay, this is bullshit. But in the beginning, when the way they build it and then the way they show it, like in the title screen, I remember them being like, saying that, and like the first couple scares happened or whatever, and I was like, oh shit. I was like, this isn't good. And then I was like, oh, okay, this is bullshit. They lie. Okay, yeah. I get it now. But for like the first 10 minutes, I was like, yo, that's bad. That's bad for whoever this is. That sucks. Like,
Halloween and that movie hold a special place for Allie and I. It was our first date.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, Halloween night, way back in the day. Also, my favorite movie, one of my favorites. Again, once you see it once, it kind of loses luster. But the OG Saw. The twist at the end, where Jigsaw stands up, was so well done, so good. So anyway, that's what we've been doing. Other than playing Black Myth and a little bit of Like a Dragon,
horror movies all day.
Just horror movies all day every day.
That I think you should add. If she hasn't seen this one, she absolutely has to, and I'll be surprised if she hasn't. The Frighteners by Peter Jackson.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure she's
Michael J. Fox is starring in it.
Yeah,
that one used to scare the shit out of me. That Grim Reaper would fuck with me all day when I was a kid. And then my favorite one as far as a sci-fi is like Pandorum. Have you seen that one?
Dude, I like Pandorum. That movie is good.
Yeah, that one is an incredible movie. So those are the two that I would like. I'm not a horror movie guy at all, really. But those two I actually do really enjoy.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Allie doesn't... Until we met, she wasn't really a horror movie person. She didn't watch this stuff as a kid. Even like random shit. Somebody made a comment in one of the movies we were watching about Stephen King, and I did. I think there was a scene I was like, "This is ripped straight out of." I forget the name of it, like The Langoliers, I think is what it's called, right, or something very similar to that. It's a Stephen King novel, and Allie's just like, "What is that?" And I'm just like, "It's just a horror movie."
Stephen King's a fucked up person.
Yeah,
horror movie.
It's weird. There's only like so many premises too that they always repeat. There's only a couple that I'm like, anytime that we're in a theater, the rare times that we go to a theater and I see like a preview for like a horror film, there's very few premises that actually resonate. Like one is anytime someone does a movie and it's somebody trapped inside an insane asylum. Mm-hmm. I'll just cut my wrist. I'm done. See ya. Bye. Fuck you. I don't want any part of it. I don't even like there was I don't know why this reminds me, but hey, this is what the Ramble cast is for now, right? There's a place back in my hometown called the Bartonville Insane Asylum that was like it was one of the places that they used to like, way back when like experiment on people. It was all fucked up. It got closed down because it was really bad
practice.
And so it was shut down, and for a while there was two things that people would do that every single time I would hear about it, I would physically want to fight the person that was telling me they did it because it used to make me so mad, which was So they had turned it into like a memorial sort of thing for a little while, and when it was that, it was just like, hey, you can come during the day, you can see it, like the building will still be there, and then like obviously the graveyards of all of the unmarked people that they just dumped back there, you know, whatever, that'll be there too, that you can go see. And so what did people in high school? Oh, well, obviously they would go in the middle of the night and go and like hang out near all the unmarked graves, whatever. And I felt like a religious like mother that was like, you don't know what you're messing with. Don't. It's all like, I used to get so fucking mad because I would be like, there's the one thing I can already see, by the way, your face of and I know just based on what you were into when you grew up and everything like that, I know that your little goth ass was fucking one of those kids, so we can just move on right from there, because you were probably in that fucking cemetery listening to shitty ass My Chemical Romance. I know
I can't yeah, there was an old like Civil War cemetery, well, not a Civil War cemetery, but a cemetery that had graves that went back to the Civil War, in a place called Buffalo, back where we used to live. And dude, like in the summertime, staying at a friend's house, we would just like hop out, like get out in the car and go over to Buffalo and go way up the cemetery and hang out and hike around in the middle of the night. And yeah, dude,
no, thank you.
I would have spit at you if I would have heard that. Anyways, but yeah, I never understood that shit. I thought that shit was dumb as fuck. I used to irritate the hell out of me, because dude, for multiple reasons that I don't even know if I've like fully thought of. That just one is, it feels like you're inviting consequences that you're really, truly, when push would come to shove, not ready to cash in. Like, you think, you're like, oh, I'll go and it'll be fun, and then, like, maybe everybody gets a little spooked out and then we leave. But, like, if things were to take a turn, like, really, like, somebody just disappears, that's a bad day, and you'll never recover from that for the rest of your life. Yeah, you're not ready. No one is. No. Now, I don't know that happens, so I'm just saying, if on the off chance that does happen, you're really not ready to pay that consequence, so why risk it? The second one, though, for me specifically, was the insane asylum one that used to piss me off. Is like when people would do, you're like, bro, that's okay. Like, there's a bunch of unmarked graves there from people who were tortured. Like, can we show a little bit of fucking, like, out of empathy or something? Like, just fucking don't be stupid. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like that part, like a regular cemetery, whatever, you know, not that regular people also don't need to be shown respect in their graveyard, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Do you want ghosts? This is how you get ghosts.
Like, yeah, exactly. Like, this is how it was like the same way that I found out, like, when there was like all those boarding schools in Canada and in America too, but a bunch of them were found
with the indigenous peoples.
It was like there was all for native people where they were all tortured and killed and then just dumped in unmarked graves or whatever. And then you'd be like, people are like, oh, I'm gonna go hang out there at night. It's like, yo,
why though?
Maybe just fucking pick somewhere else.
Go to fucking
like
Denny's,
that one
man.
seems uncool. Maybe just go do anything else with your time. That one seems like, hey, if I was ever gonna show respect for something, it's probably that one. Let's just not. But yeah, I don't know. Every single time I saw people, like, God, and there were so many people in my high school used to do the same thing, and I remember just every single time being like, I would have an urge. I would be like, I want to strike you, and it's not your fault, but I want to strike you.
I find it upsetting how accurate you were with the music and everything.
Yeah, it's because I love. Here's the thing, and this is going to come off as more of an attack than I mean it to, but it's not you. But I swear to God, every single millennial emo pop punk person truly believed that they were living the most individual life that has ever been lived, all the way up until social media happened. And then they were like, oh, every single one of us was the exact fucking same person. Like, and no, not that fucking people who like I was just the regular metalcore person, and so I get it. There was what, 4 of me in my high school, and we all were the exact same, which is why we hung out all the time. So I'm not casting anything, but I wasn't pretending. But there was so many people that I remember growing up that were like, oh, I'm the most individual of individuals and blah, 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 blah. And it was like, okay, you have the same raccoon haircut that everybody else has across the world right now. All you'd have to do is log on to fucking Facebook and you'd see it, you dork. Like, you guys all have Hawthorne Heights in your top 10. MySpace, yeah, is what I meant. But yeah. MySpace, all you have to do is log in or even your AIM. You guys all use the same fucking little lyric as your away message. Stop it.
Dude,
stop pretending like...
We went to, I think a week or so ago, when I told you guys I was out at bingo. We were at like emo night bingo, right?
Uh-huh.
And that was like the most packed bingo they had there since Taylor Swift thing.
Can I say...
It was like all... And everybody was our age, like, right? Like,
I'm sure they were. Yeah. What I will say that pisses me off more than anything else, and I don't know why, but... Because it doesn't affect me directly, but there is not a group in our generation that is more financially taken than the millennial emo group I have ever seen in my life. So every major city, Milwaukee does it, the Chicago, I've seen St. Louis, all of them have those emo nights.
Yeah,
where
everybody does.
Fucking... Some of those tickets are like $150.
Oh, dude, they're all put on by like Live Nation too.
And people show up to watch one fucking dork with a MacBook press play on songs they have already heard that they could be listening to at home, and instead they pay money, an exorbitant amount of money, to go watch a DJ play these songs, and then everybody jumps around and fucking pretends like they're at least... Okay, at the very least, I understand like the fucking the show that you're going to, that you've been to before, that you're going to go to again. Even though I think that it's a scam, because they should not be charging that much for those tickets, and everybody knows it, but at the very least, you are seeing a live performance, and that in itself is worth something, because you are going and seeing a band perform.
It's a festival, right? There's like 60 bands there, yeah.
Sure, right. But I just mean, but most people are going for like whatever subset of bands they want to watch, right? Like, that's what a festival is for. But in general, whatever bands you're there to see, you will get to go see. And when you see them, at the bare minimum, you are at least getting a live performance that you can argue and say, hey, I'm paying this ticket price regardless of how high it is. I'm going to go pay to go see these people put on a live show because that's live music. You want to go see it performed, right? That's totally fair. Personally, I think it's too high, but it is what it is. People can make that call for themselves to go see that stuff, right? Like, you'd never catch me paying $400 to go see the fucking Rolling Stones, but people do it all the time, right? So, like, whatever. Go do your thing. But going to pay over $100 to go listen to a MP3 play over a PA system is fucking crazy to me.
Yeah, so I've never been to one of those nights, so I'm not going to justify it. But what I'm going to say is, like, the DJ culture, the people that go to like EDM festivals and stuff, those tickets, and I know this because we had some delivered like here to our house one time to the guy that used to live here, and this, that, and the other. Those tickets for like EDM festivals and DJ festivals are far more expensive than any band concert or festival I've ever seen. Like the basic tickets for this festival were like $700 to the VIP to like $2,500 for just a few people to like all night just fucking hit spacebar and play the game, which is insane.
Here's the thing: the EDM ones, the only difference that I'll give is that those people are paying that much money to go somewhere to do a bunch of drugs for many nights in a row and just let that ride.
It's an experience.
And sure, whatever. That whole thing. But emo night is literally just people paying over $100 to stand next to each other, and then everybody looks at each other and go, "Oh man, do you remember this song?" And it's like, yeah, of course I do. Yeah, why would? And then everyone goes, "Man, this is the crazy," and everybody starts going crazy like the band is fucking there. And I'm just like, you gave this venue basically free money.
Yeah,
like
that's why they do it.
Like, at least for a live performance, you're like, oh, man, I'm supporting the band, I'm supporting whatever, blah, blah, blah. You're supporting nothing with emo. You were literally just going, like for Chicago, you're literally just giving House of Blues $150 for nothing. And that's if you don't buy any of their crazily overpriced drinks and food and everything else that are in that fucking venue. And
that House of Blues isn't even that nice. I stay at the Hotel
not.
Chicago in the same parking lot all the time. It's not that nice.
It's not. And the sound is, there's better venues in Chicago that have better sound, but you people are going to show up and fucking pay for this shit. God, it's insane to me. It's just insane. I don't understand it. But it's clearly not for me. But I just don't. I have never seen a group of people more easily ready to just be like, fuck it, and just charge something to their credit card or whatever for so little on return. Again, I'm not counting the festival stuff. I think that stuff is overpriced. But festivals, you're at least going to see live music. But like, quick question. How much was that bingo night? How much did it cost to get in?
That stuff's free.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, because we do. So we have. There's two places: Reformation Brewery, where we do trivia. They do bingo as well, and then we go to a cidery, Atlanta Cider Co. And we're friends. It is free, period. But we're also friends with the people that put them on. We've become friends with them. But yeah, that's free. You show up.
That's fine.
Just pay for drinks.
Because here's what I was gonna say: is that I know most bingo is free. Like you just go and do the whole thing. But I would not have been shocked to find out that like entry tickets for emo bingo were $50 and everybody was just like, well, fuck it, I'll pay for it.
We this is completely aside. We've become friends with the people that, one of the girls that does the bingo and the trivia at one place, and the guy that does the bingo at the other. And the guy runs this company that does the bingo at all of them. Like Lights Up Entertainment, they do it at every brewery around here. And I was just shooting the crap with him because Allie and I were talking one day, like, how big is this enterprise he has? It's just like a dude that's our age with a significant other that has friends that probably pays minimum wage to go run trivia and bingo. And he told me the other day is like, we do like 30 to 40 events like a week. And I'm like, holy crap, I didn't realize you do so many. And then I see him post today on Instagram. They hosted, Lights Up Entertainment, like hosted T-Pain's 40th birthday. And like he's in front of this huge like pink and white and red like T-Pain sign outside of T-Pain's house. I'm like, good for you, man.
Yeah.
Good for you. But yeah. Anyway, yes. I had something else to add and I completely lost it because
it just blows my mind the amount of money. And my wife is one of them, so it's not like I can hate, like it happens all the time. But like I remember, I tried to get. She was going with some friends, and I tried to get an explanation, and it was like there was like a short wire somewhere. Like I was like, I don't understand. Why are you paying this much to go listen to this music that is not even from the band? Like you're just like somebody's just playing it, and they're like, well, it's fun to go to the venue. I'm like, okay,
it's
sure.
Yeah, I can tell you the answer. It's because you married somebody different than you, right? We are not extroverts, right? And there is a subsect of humans out there that get enjoyment being around other humans.
Right, which is fair. Right, yeah.
I don't understand it, but that's what they like to do. And if you put in music,
my thing, though. That was the logic that I was trying to follow. So I'm like, okay, so, but why? And they're like, well, it's fun to go to the venue and see people. Okay, but then by that argument, why not just go to a bar? You guys could go hang out. It'll have touch tunes. You could play the same songs that you're going to listen to anyway. It's way cheaper, and you get to be with people.
I don't know if touch tunes is that much cheaper.
Huh?
I don't know if touch tunes is that much cheaper anymore.
It'll be cheaper than paying the $150 to get, and at the House of Blues for no less. Yes, it would. But I was like, you could just do that, and they're like, yeah, but there could be people at the bar who don't like that music, and I'm like, but who gives a shit? Like, I don't get it. And they were like, well, yeah, but they're doing it here. I'm like, yeah, no, I get it, but I'm saying, like, you're getting the same result. Like, I don't understand what the point is. And they were just like, it's just not for you to understand. I'm like, see, this is why I'm saying is that I don't actually think, like, I think you guys just want to spend money to spend money. And I don't get it. Like, I'm just like, why?
People feed off those big groups of other people into the same shit they are. I don't feed off that, so it's fine. I will say the House of Blues, when you have like you live in a city with like the Metro and the Aztec and other things, like is the worst possible venue to do this stuff. Like you have good venues in Chicago.
Yeah.
I don't understand that, but anyway.
Either way.
So that's my week.
Yeah.
Halloween stuff. And we'll
got 51 minutes in. Mine will go quick. So Preston was a very, very beautiful person and got me UFO 50. I actually, before I get into that, I need to admit a correction. I did not start playing Kingdom Hearts.
Oh yes, that's right.
Yeah, the clock doesn't need to be reset. It still hasn't been played. I literally I saw the intro, and then I was like, after the intro was done, I was like, this is actually all I wanted, and never mind.
I got as far as Besaid. Saw that dope cutscene where Yuna's like moving around and summoning like in the water, and same thing happened.
Yeah, it's just not time.
You just really just want to pull up YouTube and look up the cutscenes. It's fine.
Right.
I do StarCraft every once in a while. I'm like, you know what? I just want to put the cutscenes on the background. It's fine.
Yeah. So, but at that point, I was like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I was like, maybe I'll get in, like, looking through my backlog. We'll figure something out. I don't know. And then Preston, I got a little GIF notification, and Preston was like,
you were talking
UFO
about
50.
it last episode, and and I saw Alex go off to the side. I'm like, is he buying it? I'm like, I'll just wait for him to see if he's buying it for him. And then you sent that text me like, I'm not playing Kingdom Hearts. We'll see what I got next. I'm like, UFO 50 is like $25. I'm like, I'll fucking buy it. Not to mention, I'm sure, as Christian will talk about it, it's a very good game that we all probably want to test out before the game of the year hits. So
I don't think it'll be for Alex. I'll just say that now,
So I was looking at the price, and I was like, oh, I might pick that up for him tomorrow. And then I saw him playing it, and I texted him, and I was like, USOB, I was going to buy it for you. He was like, I didn't buy it. Preston bought it. And I was like, of course he did. So.
Yeah.
We're going back and forth. It's fine. One of us is going to do it.
Yeah, it was very funny. But I really appreciate it. But, so for those who don't know, UFO 50 is basically this collection that they did of like 50 games that span a variety of genres, and they basically start from, and I can actually...
It's like all 80s type of generation of stuff, right?
Yeah, so it's like the NES sort of generation, but let me boot it actually so that I can tell you the exact years they go for.
Yeah, because it does it as like a fake documentary, right? It's like a
yes.
It's like a fake Atari 100 or whatever, to where it's like
it's mostly like it's like from what I can tell from the intro here or from the intro, it's like you stumbled upon you were going into a storage unit and there was it basically looks like a Commodore 64 almost, just console. Sitting there, and you're like, oh man, I'm gonna go through all these games and blow the dust off them and put them in, kind of thing. It's a very cool premise that I really appreciate. But they're all original ideas done in that style, and you can get like really deep into you can fucking put like CRT scan lines over some of this stuff, like really crunch it up if you want to. It's awesome. But yeah, it starts at 1982 and then goes all the way to 1989. So that sort of stuff, and it's tons of genres. Right now, I've played 7 of the games. So I've played Barbuda, which is the first one, Bug Hunter, Ninpek, Paint Chase, Magic Garden, Mortal, and Velgress. So I'll just go through some of these and just talk really quick. I did not like Barbuda at all. It's not for me. It is a very strange game to start this collection on, because you start it and you're like, I'm not even really necessarily sure what my objective is, and I'm not quite sure how to figure it out. It was not. I didn't care for it at all. Bug Hunter was the first one that like locked me in, and I played for a while until I beat it. It took me maybe like 3 hours. Bug Hunter is it loads up and you're in this grid, and think of like Bomberman in the way that like it's like a grid will show up and you have to like go and like sort of try to set things, except every round a certain amount of bugs will be on there, and you can either like move and like kick them and like gather them into a corner. You can then try to shoot them to kill them or whatever. And the whole point is, don't let any bug go unkilled for 3 rounds or more, because after 3 rounds they'll go into an egg form, hatch, and then it floods the screen and you lose. And so you have to try to do that for, I don't know how, it's like 10 days I think is the full amount, so like 10 rotations basically. And then every level you go from there. There's different power-ups that you get and you can buy by getting certain things. It's incredible. It's very, very good. Ninpek is basically like a forced scroll version of Ninja Gaiden. It's very difficult, and it's hard. I did play it and I kept going, but it's one of those ones that I would come back to where I'm like, okay, I clearly just have to dedicate all of my time to this. But it is just as hard as like the original Ninja Gaiden, like platformers of that era. It's very hard. But it's like the self-scrolling, like, Super Mario levels, like that. It's always pushing you forward, which makes it way more difficult. Paint Chase is really fun. It's basically like there's like a paint roller behind your car, and every level you have to try to stop. You have to try to get your color everywhere, stop other colors from happening, and cover a certain amount of map by the time expiring. Magic Garden is like Snake. That's basically it, except at the end of Snake, you try to get the snake to fit a certain position. So like one might be, I need to get enough orbs to fit like a 8 line across, and then once I have 8 things, I can run up and go and line it up, and once it lined up, I win. You go on to the next level. Mortal was the first like really interesting one that I played outside of Bug Hunt that I was like, I could see something like this being made back then, but if there's a game like this that exists, I don't know about it, and it's very like it's super interesting. So do you guys remember, and Preston, you might be the only one who remembers this, I don't know, Alex, if you were into like the indie game stuff back in the like 360 arcade or like PS3 days. But Preston, do you remember like the 1001 Ways to Die game, where like every level, like you had to keep going and it was, your lives were constant? So this game does the same thing, except so you start with 20 lives and your goal is to get through all these different stages and you can find different like plus like 1-ups basically. Sometimes they have up to 3 or 5 in each level, but you have 3 basically things that you can do outside of just being a regular platformer. You can dash forward and your character will stick into, like, that life will stick into any surface and end up becoming like a platform that you can jump on. So say like a wall is too high, you can jump up, slam yourself into the wall, and then when your next respawn comes down, use that body as a platform to jump on. You can explode and detonate in like a giant area that will either blow up blocks that are past, like blocking your path, or kill enemies. And then your other option is to turn to a stone, which can either like potentially lock an enemy in place, make a safe spot over spikes, different things like that. And then the goal is to basically traverse all the levels and find lives to keep basically going throughout each stage. Incredible. I can't recommend that one enough. It's awesome. My favorite one so far, though, is Velgress, and this one is I want to call it, it's kind of like a Metroid style game, except the map is straight up and down, and it's basically like it's a platformer only, but with like Metroid style combat, I guess is the best way to say it. So like, you're this character, you shoot in the cardinal directions, but you are platforming, and you're basically just trying to get up as high as you can go, like over and over again.
I think I heard
like
Jeff Gersman talking about this. He's like, it's the opposite of downward.
Yes, that's exactly a great way to think of it, actually. Yes, that's exactly what it is.
So it is
like down. Yep, you go up, but it's a roguelite in that the map is randomized each time that you go to start it up. Most of my playtime on UFO 50, if you look it up on Steam, is probably in Velgress. I want to keep trying other games, but I can't stop playing Velgress.
One of them got you real hard.
Yeah, it's great.
So-
and I want to keep going.
There was
ahead.
one game that I heard Jeff Gershman talk about, and he strongly suggests everyone start this one up at least. And one of our friends in our Discord messages said for you to do as well. It's called like Pilot something, but it's the idle game. But it's only doing the idle stuff while UFO 50 is launched. So it doesn't do it while the game is gone. So you need to start it up, get the things rolling, so that way you can go play other games while it does this idle thing in the background. And then you can kind of go back to it here and there to kind of like do whatever you do with an idle game, whatever. But you start something
Pilot
up.
Quest?
Pilot Quest, yes, that's the one you need to.
Is that
So
what it is?
start that one up just so that way you have the idle stuff going on in the background while you're playing other games. Is what I heard does a high recommendation as far as Gershman.
Okay. Yeah, see, here's my problem right now. And I'll talk about this with the next thing that I'm going to talk about in my week. It's the only other thing I played. With the move coming up and everything like that, this is the perfect game because I'm like, oh my god, there's 50 games in here and I'm going to like a bunch
I was
of these. And
hoping
this
it was
is
going to hold
definitely-
you over, yeah.
Absolutely, definitely going to make it on my list. My problem is
Can you get
that there are other games that are coming out, and it's going to be really hard pressed for me to not want to just be playing UFO 50. So I'll have to figure that out for myself. And that leads me into the last thing that I played. And let me close this because I'm literally just about to start playing UFO 50 while we're recording this podcast. I tried the Metaphor demo.
Nice, samesies.
Yeah. So, boy, if there was ever a hard recommendation for me to talk about new Trails games, it's right here.
Oh yeah.
So, first of all, I just to get the metaphor specific things out. I'm only like an hour or so in.
Okay.
I want to keep playing
I'm
until
almost
where the
done with
demo
it,
ends.
It's a beefy demo.
It's
It's
great.
like 6 to 8 hour demo.
Yeah, it's
a
huge.
prologue. So the
Uh,
save goes over to your game, which you
Yeah, which
buy
is
it.
why I want to finish it so that the save can go over. But yeah, dude, it's fantasy Persona as far as art style is concerned. Same level of quality of art that you're there, but just high fantasy setting.
Yeah.
I didn't know how much that new setting was going to refresh me in a way that I was like, man, I'm totally in. I no Persona burnout here because this is
It's different.
is just
Super
brand new
different.
setting. It's great. The other thing they're doing is they have the job system from Final Fantasy XII, basically, which is game changer as far as mechanics are concerned. But outside of that, a lot of the all of that combat is literally Trails from Daybreak. Like that is how that game plays. And so I was like, that's why my point is, if this game is working for anybody and you've always thought like maybe I'll go, yes, you should go try Trails now
They
because
already announced the remake or whatever of the first one. I'm going to
did.
get into it once that happens. I promise.
they did. And don't worry, that'll be purchased on our Steam library, so you'll have
It
that
will.
one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm only like an hour in. Not too much to say about that. I love the setting. I think it looks great. The only thing I'm really worried about is I'm like, fuck, this game comes out soon, and I'll potentially want to play it depending on how my move situation lines up. But it's going to be really hard for me to be like, stop playing UFO 50 for that game. So I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, that's my week.
Okay, well, let's go straight into Metaphor. I am about 5 to 6 hours into that. I'm almost done. I got to the point to where this game is definitely, obviously it's the Persona team that are now called Studio Zero. But instead of personas, you have archetypes. Instead of the Velvet Room, you have Moore's whatever mind dimension or whatever. So it's almost too on the nose, but it differentiates itself enough to have it feel fresh, like Christian said. So obviously this is not a high school modern day setting. This is all fantasy. They got elves, furries, and the monsters, if you will.
Okay, hold on.
You know what though? A furry relationship is much better than being a high school student
There's no
and
relationships in this game.
romancing.
There's just bonds.
Romancing
There's no romancing. We've already said
a nurse that's way older than you,
Okay.
so it's fine.
They've already said
To
that
be
there's
very
no
clear, there are not furries in this game.
No, they are different.
There are
Yeah, they're animal people.
Yes, it's like they're like anthropomorphic people or whatever. They are not people pretending to be furries.
No.
Although I love that is a hilarious idea, but no, I just want to be very clear.
Parapus people, if you will. They got ears and tails.
They sure do.
All of Preston's qualifications.
Hey, you get into a little hotel inn, and there is a very pretty gray-haired lady who has ears and a tail and all black outfit. She's very attractive. But yeah, no, it is so much like Persona. Like I knew they were going to like be somewhat similar, but I didn't think it was going to be like this similar to where it's like, oh no, this is a Persona game, but they just want to take a different go at it this time. Like you said with the class system, you just need to unlock. So like when you get a bond with somebody, like someone you meet, like much like Persona was at Ford, where it was like that little girl that you kind of stay with at your like the place you're staying at. You get a bond with her. She like helps you out as far as like gets you like buffs or whatever when you like build up your bond with her. Now, if you just find somebody, there's a little girl at the hotel that you kind of talk to, and when you kind of hang out with her for a minute, you get a bond with her, and that unlocked like I think it's the healer class. So now any of your teams that you bring with you can become the healer. It does cost if you change up their classes. Like there is like currency for that you do have to get. But if you want to go in, I saw it because they have the same thing with the network connection that Persona has, where you can press a little button, you can kind of find out, hey, what level were people when they finished this dungeon? What classes did they have going through there? And there's some people who just went all three of the same class with all the characters. Like, okay, when you get towards the end of that boss battle, you notice that boss battle has a weakness. People just decided to double down and go with that one class that has that attack on it, and then just apparently steamrolled the boss on it. So and you can change it up. Once you're done with that, you're like, okay, well, I'm going to go back to this and kind of change it up and go to different classes. I love this game. It's got a lot more cutscenes into it as far as like the animated cutscenes, which is really nice. Like it seems to be like every 15 to 20 minutes, you get like a little anime cutscene to kind of further along things. It's incredibly well written. Did you go with the Japanese or English dubs?
For Persona game, I always do English.
Okay. I went English.
So
I heard Japanese is really good, but I think the English ones are just phenomenal. There's a very
they do an amazing job with English.
It's I only do this for Persona games, and it's usually just because their dubs are so high quality.
Right. Yeah.
So I always just do them. It's the only series that I do that with. But yeah, I'm using the English ones.
Yeah, no, I'm loving the hell out of it. The only reason why I haven't finished it is because we played a game for the Video Game Book Club that took over a lot of time, and I thought I would have time that night to do it. I did not. But yeah, Metaphor ReFantazio is great. Yeah, we'll get there when we get there. Listen in, guys, later this week when we drop the episode, because now we're splitting them. But yeah, later on this week, you guys will hear about us talking about the Video Game Book Club, and we'll have some discussion for sure. But yeah, this is the prologue. So like I said, 6 to 8 hours long. Saves do roll over to whatever you want to go with. So that's really nice to have. That was my one concern is like, man, they better have the save go through. And it's like, yep, save goes through. I'm like, cool.
What are you guys playing it on?
PC.
So far I'm playing on PC. I did play a little bit on Steam Deck. It ran just fine. It's just,
there's some performance issues.
And it's going to drain the hell out of your battery. So like I got like an hour.
To be fair, there's performance issues on the PC too, though. Like even like in some of the bigger areas, like if you're running at full settings and you get in some of the bigger areas, like it can get a little choppy.
I was thinking about getting PS5 because I almost want a physical copy of it, but I'm not sure. I was thinking about getting PC just so we could all play it, but I didn't know if we wanted to play it.
If you want, I'll get it on PC, so you don't have to worry. If you want to get a PS5 copy or Xbox copy, you can.
Okay.
There's just I can't justify turning on that PC or that PlayStation anymore. So
yeah.
I only do because the only new console I have has a disc drive. So
yeah, what was I gonna say?
About Metaphor, PC,
yes.
PS5.
Yeah, oh yeah, the PC port. I have seen like they acknowledge that the PC port is fucked up, so like they know. So they said that there should be updates that will be coming before the game launches. So hopefully that stuff will be ironed out. But yeah, there's people even with like 4090s that are seeing some
it's
performance
the
hits.
first time. I don't think they did this with Royale or the 5, but this is the first time they actually did day and date with consoles and PC, right? Did they do that with 5? I think they did it later with 5 as far as came over to PC, right?
I believe so, yeah.
So they'll work it out. It's fine. Other than that, it doesn't seem to be game breaking. But yeah, it's good. It's great. I am so far very pleased with it. It's my most anticipated game of this year, and it so far has not been disappointing me at all. Playing some more KOTOR. We got a lot further than I thought. In fact, we played like 2.5 hours of it this last week because I got done with that last little planet, went to the Star Forge, and we were only like an hour and a half in. I'm like, I think we could beat this game today. Completely forgot that the Star Forge just spawns enemies for days. So I got people dying. Like, I'm going up to a computer terminal and like logging into stuff, and it's like, oh hey, your friend died. I'm like, I'm in the middle of this computer terminal. I'm like, yeah, well, they're still fighting people over here. I'm like, oh god, just stop, because I want to get Revan's robes. Got the robes, went back there, and it's just getting fucking hammered. I was looking some stuff up on that. It is like that because they do want you to be at max level when you get to the final boss. And that's how you can do it. If you haven't gotten to max level by the time you've gotten to this Starforge area, they will just respawn enemies. I do hear that there is a point where it does stop. I just had got to a certain point in the game to where it just stopped respawning enemies at me, and my main character was dead. My main character, I left him behind. I'm like, yo, we gotta keep moving, keep this going. They're just gonna keep spawning at us. We're gonna get fucked because I'm running out of health, stim packs and stuff like that. So it was me, Juhani, and HK. And HK, of course, would stay behind finally, to where he would just kind of shoot from afar, but then everybody respawning and running behind us would catch up to HK, and he would get fucked. I'd have to go back there and help him, so it was kind of stopping us from going further. It got to a point on a couple spots to where my character wouldn't do any attacks. It wouldn't let you use any force powers. So there was one point I was fighting some Dark Jedi, and it was just Juhani going to town on one of the dudes, and my guy just sitting there, lightsabers out, just staring the fucking dude down. I'm like, bro, fucking do something. And luckily it fixed itself for the next combat, but something in there, I don't know, because a lot of times what I do is to do my stim packs, to do like a shield or something like that, I can go into the menu and activate it there, and I don't have to worry about the animation time. So a lot of times I just go like, okay, health's down, activate the stim pack, so that way I don't have to wait for them to push it into their thigh or whatever to get the health. I'm like, do it now. I think that might have been what bugged it out a little bit, if I had to guess. I can't think of anything other reasons to why. But yeah, we're getting there. Next time we play it will be the finale. By the time this comes out, I will have skipped this past Sunday because I got family coming into town. But the week after this episode comes out, the week after that Sunday, we will finish KOTOR. And we'll be done with that and moving on to Bounty Hunter. So I'm excited to start that one up as far as the HD remaster. And then lastly, more Zenless Zone Zero. I have finished the new batch, the new chapter, if you will, for the story mode. Fucking phenomenal. I'm going to spoil it a little bit. This is not really like what happens at the end. It's more of like hey, this chapter is called Tour de Inferno. It's all about this like biker race. And very unexpectedly, it took this like PS2 era of we're going to do a bike racing minigame to where it's very much like the road's coming at you, you're moving left and right to avoid obstacles, maybe slide under some stuff. No idea that was going to happen. It was very fucking cool. Story is incredibly well done. Like, it was got the whole, like, will they, won't they at the very end kind of deal with one of the characters. And, of course, they're not going to fucking kill somebody off that you're going to get and unlock and play for the rest of the game. But it was a really good story that they did there. A couple of the new events they got in there, as far as the arcade has a new game in it. It's pretty much Vampire Survivors. For those of you guys who don't know, Zenless Zone Zero has its own arcade just hanging out on the street that you can go into and play like a little snake game. There's a little Dig Dug type of game, and they added in a Vampire Survivors like. That's a lot of fun, and it's a lot better quality than you would think, but not as good as Vampire Survivors. And then the event they have for this one last season was a kind of so the Dance of the Necromancer, that
Crypt of the Necrodancer?
Yeah, they had like an event that was a lot like that. You play a little bang boo and you're avoiding like things that are coming down. You have to do it to the beat. This one is more of a like, it's not a cooking sim. It's more of a like a puzzle for opening like your own diner in this new area. And as you're going through, you're upgrading your diner with like a new sign, better stuff inside there, and you're unlocking different meals. But it's more of like an inventory management from Resident Evil. So you have like your 8x12 space with blocks, and each food can contain a certain amount of blocks, like 4 in a square pattern, or 4 across, or just one little square. And you have to figure out, okay, well, there's 2 different attributes: the red heart, the green heart. Some food gives you red, some food gives you green. Some then take away one way or another, and you have to figure out how you're going to serve 3 people who have these boards filled up, and you got to kind of go with the food that you have. That's a lot of fun. I'm enjoying that a lot. I'm almost finished up with that. And then I got to the hard pity, and I did get Caesar. So I did get Big Titty Biker Lady. She's pretty cool. She has an attack that actually brings in enemies. So she has like a shield and a sword. The shield has a bunch of spikes on it, and she can throw it out and kind of come back to her yo-yo style. Or she has one of the attacks that kind of spiral out a couple of them around her, and if the enemy gets hit by them, it pulls them in towards her, which I think will be really cool to have. Because then you can just find your nuke character, switch over to them, and then just blast all the ones that are right there in that little spot. So I haven't leveled her up all the way, so I haven't done too much with her outside of the story. There's a character coming out later on in the season, Bernice. I wasn't super a fan of her at first. She was just like this cheerleader looking, just like short skirt, tube top, and a jacket. But she has like dual flamethrowers, and they have you play with her for a little bit in the story mission, and her fucking playstyle in combat is wild. It's super fun. She's flying all over the place, doing crazy shit with like the flamethrowers. You can hold it down, and of course she does streams of flamethrower, but if you hold it down all the way, she's like a burst at the very end that just does an insane amount of damage. I really like her playstyle. I hope I get her as a character. I spent my hard pity so far on this one, but usually I get 1 per character, so hopefully I'll get her next time too as well. But Zenless Zone Zero still ends up being an amazing game. I really have a good time with that. But yeah, other than that, not really too much else on my plate. I'm just kind of waiting for Metaphor to come out. That's going to take over my life. I'm going to try to fit Neva in there somewhere maybe, but I might just buy that one and wait till I finish with Metaphor to get to that one. So that one's coming out just days after Metaphor.
Yeah, I just had Metaphor finished downloading, so I'm going to check it out, play it.
A lot of fun. Amazing soundtrack too. Yeah.
Oh god. Yeah.
I mean, and I did notice you can see Persona
different
all over it.
Different kind of music, not
jazzy, hip hop. It's just straight up
no.
fantasy. Your typical classical kind of fantasy stuff. It doesn't.
But
really well.
You can definitely see the Persona, in the menu sort of system.
100%.
Stuff.
It just
the
oozes
style is there, but
Yeah.
that's kind of where it ends. Everything else it's doing its own thing, which is refreshing.
Cool. Yeah, I'll try it out this week before we get back together next week. So anyway,
hold on. Well, so I was gonna say, I know we're gonna try to do maybe a little topic kind of whatever for each one of these to in between the book club. So I wanted to ask you guys something that it's story happened 3 days ago, and then we've got one more today that just happened maybe 3 hours ago. And I wanted to ask you guys just quick opinions on it, and then we'll just go from there. But what the fuck is going on over at Nintendo's legal department? Because they can't help themselves. So
I didn't see the today. What happened today?
Yeah, so there's the lawsuit. The first one I'm talking about, and we can touch on all of it, but the first one I'm talking about is the lawsuit against Palworld. Mm-hmm. I think it's ridiculous. They're calling it's ridiculous.
But let's not act like that wasn't a matter of time, right?
Yeah.
But that's actually my problem with it, right? Is that I think Palworld has been out for almost a year now. Mm-hmm. That animation that they're claiming is a problem that they filed a patent on, which we'll get into that later. I think you should have done that from day one. Waiting until Palworld was coming into PlayStation is all of a sudden is one you're oh. That's the bridge too far. The console that we aren't on.
No, I think solely somebody did the math to say when Palworld first came out, there was so much buzz that we would be destroyed if we do this today, right? But somebody's done the math and said it's been long enough where the hype has died, other games have come out, the community is still there, sure, but it's not as loud as it was when it first launched. Now we can be safe to do this lawsuit, and
I think
most people won't pay attention to it.
I think it's solely because of money. I think that they were fine.
No, it's 100% money, but I think they were fine. It's the public appearance.
I think they were fine when it was on the PC because they were whatever, that's a market we just ignore because we're Nintendo and we don't care. as soon as it started coming to consoles, I think that was when they were like, oh, you're making money. Like, we're going to end that. Because even the developer even came out, I think it was something on Twitter that was like, we don't know what to do with all this money. Like, they basically were like, we're rich and we don't know what to do about it. But the other thing was, so there's a emulator that for the Nintendo Switch called Ryujinx. People might be familiar with it if you own a Steam Deck, because it comes packaged in the MU Deck
does it?
software.
I've never used that one for. Is it what emulator is it for? Like all Nintendo?
For the
Because I have
Switch.
like. Oh, for the Switch.
Specifically for the Switch.
I've used Yuzu. I've experienced Yuzu. I don't currently have it.
Yeah, I have watched a video on both of these. I have never actually personally. I
haven't heard of the other one you just said, but
yeah, I would never install anything like this. So whatever.
I've experienced Yuzu. It's fine. It's not that great.
Either way, Ryujinx was one, and they basically was like Nintendo. One of the developers came out and announced the news on its Discord server by saying, hey, the lead developer was contacted by Nintendo, and they were offered an agreement to stop working on the project, remove the organization, and all related assets he's in control of. And while awaiting confirmation on whether or not he would take this agreement, the organization has been removed, so I think this is a user that's reporting this, but saying, so I think it's safe to say what the outcome is, and then this one was posted to the Ryujinx Twitter account, which was basically that same Discord user, but it was just basically saying, hey, this is a person who's affiliated with the project, but not the lead developer that was contacted by Nintendo. But they basically just wanted to say, hey, thank you for everybody who's contributed code to this, because it's an open source thing. Everybody who's worked with us through issues or anything like that. We've gotten to learn, so much through this process, all sorts of stuff, yada yada yada. But it's dead basically. And if you go to that GitHub page, it currently leads to a 404 message. It is showing like none of the download stuff is working. It's dead. He's basically going to kill it. And Yuzu, Alex, to your point, is the one that Nintendo killed and put that person in. I'm assuming it's basically going to be lifelong crippling debt.
Oh, that was Yuzu? The Bowser guy or whatever it was?
Tropic Haze, who paid $2.4 million in damages to Nintendo, and Yuzu was shut down entirely from that. And the reason that they were able to do is that Nintendo claims that Tears of the Kingdom was pirated 1 million times before its release, because the takedown notice was for more than 8,500 of those copies of code in Yuzu in May. So
my problem with that, I have a lot of problems with this in general, but like my big problem with that is that you taking down Yuzu and you taking down this isn't going to stop people from pirating.
It stops the big one. Yeah.
Here's my thing. This is just my personal opinion. I think Nintendo is proving once again why people steal from them all the time. So emulators, just so everybody's clear, there's nothing wrong with an emulator. Like, legally speaking against IP, there is nothing wrong with creating an emulator because you are playing games that you own, right? So you're trying to find a way to get games that you own to run on other to emulate that hardware. But there's nothing.
The problem is the user and how they acquire the ROM that they play. But not the developer in building the emulator.
But Nintendo is finding loopholes to figure out ways to crack down on these. Mm-hmm. And in the case of like Ryujinx, where they couldn't find anything, they basically just call them and say, hey, we'll offer you any amount of whatever. We don't know what the offer was, right? We probably won't know. But we'll offer you some money and you'll delete this from existence and agree to never do anything like this again. And it sets a very dangerous precedence, I think, for other companies to go forward and go, oh, well, Like Microsoft could totally call the developers of like Zemu or whatever, right, and be like, "Hey, here's $100,000 or $1 million, whatever, delete it all," and then those people are fucked, right? Same thing with Sony.
I mean, they are and they're not. You get $1 million, so.
I meant the people who
that.
like people. I meant like people are fucked. Like people who would want to go use this
yeah.
emulator. Yeah. And between that and the Palworld thing, like Nintendo is just proving once again that if there was ever, it's why they're the most targeted company for all of this piracy stuff. They are so anti-consumer in every single thing that they do that people don't feel bad. And no, I'm not surprised that Tears of the Kingdom was pirated 1 million times. I'm not shocked. And honestly, I am. If anything, I'm surprised that number wasn't higher.
I think too. Like, I don't know. I don't want to get into this because it's a whole meta commentary on other stuff. But like, the price of games for some people today are too damn high with everything else going on, right? Like, if you're a true Tears of the Kingdom fan, they probably bought that game. If you were able to buy it, a lot of people bought it. But then you also like perpetuate this by like giving streamers that don't do dick like free copies of stuff. Again, it's that like famous problem of like, you're rich, you can afford clothes, but designers give you free clothes anyway. Like, so the people that stole it, most, not all, because there are plenty of people who can afford it and totally steal games and other stuff, but many people, look, man, it's hard out here in the streets. I don't know what to tell you. And, like, you're not very friendly in the way you run your business. So, like, it's easier to look over and go,
they participate in digital scarcity. Like, there was that Mario collection that they were like, yep, it'll only be on the store page for 6 months, so download it while you can, because after that, we're deleting it.
They've done it since the Wii. Right?
Yeah.
Like, just, like, physical scarcity in the warehouses and stuff, and, like, limiting how much they sent out. And yeah, it sucks. I don't know. Nintendo frustrates me because they oftentimes punch down, right? Like, and you're punching down to everybody because you're a massive company. I get that.
Yeah, they're dicks.
But, like, Palworld is one thing. I get the timing. It's funny to me on like why you waited. Like if you're gonna do it, be ballsy and just do it up front. Because there are
why.
I say there are absolutely like some designs that yes look ripped off.
But that's not why they're doing it.
No, I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like if you were gonna sue them, be up front and sue them earlier and be mean about it, right? But like the ROM thing or the emulator thing, like. They just punched down. Like, that guy that ran Yuzu wasn't making money off of Yuzu, right? Like, a lot of that is open source free software, and you just sued him for millions of dollars in damages. He'll never pay for that.
Sure.
Like, who cares? And what does $2 million mean to a multi-billion-dollar company? Like, literally nothing.
They're just trying to make an example out of them is what they're doing.
Yeah, and that's what frustrates me. Like, they oftentimes just punch down for no reason. It's the Disney problem, right? Disney does the same thing, and there's many stories of the whole like the freaking Tombstone and not allowing Spider-Man, or the woman who had an allergic reaction, while may not be Disney's fault and valid. Go to arbitration and don't come out and say, oh, because you signed the terms and conditions on our digital platform, this keeps us from having to go to... Like, in this world, you as a large company have many opportunities to do the right thing. Even when it comes to protecting your brand. Because I understand needing to protect your brand. I work for a big company. They want to protect the brand. I totally get it. But you have a choice in how you go about protecting your brand. And so many of these companies, Disney, Nintendo, go, what's the one that's going to piss people off the most? And that's my frustration. Well, like don't punch down when you do it.
Yeah, the Palworld one pisses me off because it's based off an animation of throwing a ball and then catching something in it. And they have a patent that they filed last year on the animation of throwing something at something and then it going inside it. And that to me is like on the same level as like Ubisoft filing a patent on the Nemesis system so that nobody can use it, like that idea. And I'm sorry, but patents on mechanical ideas in games, which by the way, are all built on the backs of other things. You didn't come up with that mechanic in a vacuum. I'm sorry. You just didn't. And so to me,
I agree with you.
Patents on mechanical things to me in video games is scumbag shit. Like you're just doing it to be an asshole.
I agree with you 100% everything you said. But again, like you shouldn't file the suit to begin with, but also nobody should have ever let them be able to file that patent. And that's whole nother problem, right? Like, because here's the thing, at the end of the day, if you're being competitive out in this marketplace like they're trying to be, and they don't want Power World taking sales from them and so on, even if it's scummy, they're looking for whatever reason, they should have never been allowed to patent that, right? So that's almost like the don't hate the player, hate the game sort of bullshit. But it's also part of it. Like, their legal team's just looking for whatever, no matter how stupid it is. That should have just never been allowed to begin with.
No, I guarantee the reason why it took so long for Power World is they were talking to lawyers when it first released, and people were talking about it until they found something solid that they could actually sue for. That's why we're now hearing about it, because it's like they had lawyers work around the clock. Like, hey, we're not going to come out here and say we're going to sue it and lose. They're going to be like, okay, find something to get them on. What are we doing? We can't do it just by likeness because they changed the color of this one and added a little fucking flower on their head or some shit. Even though it very much looks like this Pokemon, it's technically not. They changed it enough. But when you're talking about throwing a Pokeball, they're like, oh, well, we do have a patent on how, you can capture monsters like this. They found that loophole, not loophole, but they found that one thing to get them with. And like, okay, let's work on our how we're going to go about this. And that's what took so long. Now they got to the point to where they feel confident enough to where they can go forward and they can just go ahead and take care of business.
The other thing is, where are they filing suit? Is it like in Japan, or is it like?
No, I think
because that matters a lot too.
Yeah, to my knowledge, I believe it's in the U.S. I think
which
US courts.
Which would make sense because we are much more stringent on what you're allowed to sue for, but also more lenient on letting people get away with some of the copyright bullshit like that than other countries are.
Also, when it comes to emulation and stuff like that, I'm okay with like emulation for like older stuff, like things that are like stuck in like the previous stuff that you can't get a hold of. That's really hard to get through. But when it comes to new stuff like Switch emulation, I don't know. I don't get behind that at all because there's a Switch right there. You can buy a Switch. It's not hard to get a Switch. Don't be wrong. The certain games that you can't get from them because they lock it behind a timed thing and like limited availability, like I kind of get that. But as far as like Tears of the Kingdom and stuff like that, there's no reason outside of I'm broke.
I'm with you on that.
And I say,
so
fuck
here's
that.
the thing. I'm not
okay.
advocating. So the reason that I think emulators are different from ROMs, because that's the distinction here. That I think
ROMs are completely different. Emulators, I don't see
emulation. Creating an emulator is good, and I think you can do that whenever, because it is work that you're doing on game preservation and getting a way to be able to handle these things like whenever those systems die down.
Whenever Nintendo does what they're going to do.
The Switch is until the very least, what we understand based on the leaks recently, that will be a platform until 2025. After 2025, it will stop existing. Mm-hmm. And when that's done, like, I don't think that people should have to wait to create an emulator until after that. You can create an emulator whenever. What people do with that emulator after, like, I agree with you. I'm not advocating it. If you have the availability to go get that game, you should go get that game the way that it's supposed to be gotten.
With that being said, though, I am here for the fact that if I paid for your game, it's mine at that point.
Yep.
So if I want to be able to play it on my Steam Deck because I'm traveling, I don't want to take my Switch and my Steam Deck with me, I should be allowed to put my game into an emulator to play on my
Steam. I want to spend my time.
When it comes to
owning a game. If I want to spend my time developing that solution in my own home, I can do that. Go fuck yourself. Like. Mm-hmm. And that's the reason and that's why they find these little loopholes of things to go do, because creating an emulator is not illegal. Like there's no infringement happening in creating an emulator. It's custom source code that you're creating.
Yeah. EULAs for like video games and shit should only apply to the moment somebody starts to make a profit. If I own that game and I'm just trying to play it in the best way that I see fit in my house, it should not matter what device I'm playing that on.
Which these projects are open source. They're not. Yeah.
But that's what I mean. Like, to press your point that you said that's not part of like the terms and conditions of the game. Those should only begin to apply the moment I then put a game online or I start trying to profit or take profit actively away. But if I'm in my own house playing the way I want to play, F you. You should not be able to control like what I see fit to play it on, right? Regardless of what your EULA says.
But yeah,
Nintendo's the worst.
I know.
Nintendo's an enigma.
They're a giant corporate company. They're going to do their bullshit just like Disney does, just like any other big fucking corporation. If they can fucking get some money out of somebody, they're going to fucking do it, especially if it's quote unquote.
But like they just shut down. They shut down Citra like 8 months ago, which is a 3DS emulator. The 3DS has been dead for so long. The store doesn't even exist anymore, and you are going to go after these people that eat my fucking asshole, man. Like
even though they're not making money off it, they don't want other people to make money off of it.
Well, because they're probably gonna add it to that service that Preston and 17 other people pay for, right? Eventually,
hey, I'm not re-upping for my Nintendo fucking Switch Online bullshit. It's coming up, and I've told it no.
Nintendo is an enigma. It's one of those things where like. I look at Sony a lot of times, and under this new regime, I can't say, but under the Jim Ryan, good old Jimmy R over there, they were anti-consumer in a lot of things they did.
Yep.
I think Nintendo's a bit different, where in a lot of instances, Nintendo does try and do right by the people that own their consoles in the way that like they've kind of been against like the pay-to-play games and other stuff. But then they do a lot of things that are very anti-consumer too. So they're a bit weird because I think they walk both sides of that line depending on the situation. I don't think they're just flat out bad, but at the same time, the thing that people forget every day is like, man, all these companies are for-profit companies. They don't see that they owe you anything. And to be fair, they don't technically owe you anything because this is the way we've set up, the economy and our laws. But like, they're all for-profit, and that's why they do this, because they just want more profit,
Sure.
But yeah, that was it. I just figured, since we want to come to these with like little current events or a topic idea or something, I was like, This has happened 3 hours ago, so there we go.
Yeah, cool. I think just need to stop punching down, man. Yeah. I don't even care about the Pal World one, but like the emulator stuff, like who cares? Like those people will never have the money to fight you, and they will never have the money to pay you back. So you're really just ruining somebody's day or life.
Shut them down.
Just to
don't
do
fucking
it.
Sue them for
just
millions.
do it.
The Pal World one is ridiculous because all they're going to do is change that animation, and then you're fucked still, and you can't do anything about
it.
So
we'll change it. Yeah.
That's fine.
Just let us know what we're doing wrong, and we'll change it because we're making millions and billions of dollars off this.
Like, it's so stupid.
So, all right. Well, thanks for hanging out with us, everybody. Be sure to check in later this week as we drop our video game book club. We're diving into Prince of Persia: Warrior Within.
Oh, are we?
And I can't wait to talk about it.
Do these have a name? Do we know what the name of what we're doing here?
We don't yet.
We'll have one.
We'll have one. When it releases, we'll have one.
Yeah. Enjoy insert name here. And we'll see you next week on the next episode of...
Yeah. And Preston, with that, you know what to do. Thank you for listening to another episode of The Testing Room. To catch up on past episodes or check out the newest ones when they drop, follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. If watching is more your thing, check out youtube.com/thetestingroom or Twitch TV/testingroompod. To leave comments and ask questions, follow us on Instagram @testingroompod and email us at testingroompod@gmail.com. See you next time.